I remember very vividly sitting with four old men in a tiny room at Colorado College a few years ago. We were seated around a triangular table, which wasn't particularly great for five occupants, and I was therefore sitting kind of awkwardly against a pointy corner of the table when one of them turned to me and asked me very casually, "Did you know Obama personally owns nuclear weapons?" This question was unexpected, to say the least. Not only was I a child, and not only was that not the topic of conversation, but also I was 99% sure that wasn't true. But being rather politically unknowledgeable at the time, I sat there silently with my doubt. After the meeting ended, I went back to where I was staying and immediately Googled it, and unsurprisingly, Obama doesn't own his own nuclear weapons. But that initial Google search is what launched me down a multi-year path of advocacy on behalf of students. And so I think that the old man from Colorado deserves some credit. I think he deserves some recognition despite being decidedly off the mark on his Obama theory. After that initial Google search, I kind of fell into the world of politics. I began reading as much news as possible, the New York Times, Politico, The Atlantic, you name it, and I was reading it. I also am the only person I know to date who's gotten in trouble for watching C-SPAN in class. And reading all these current events really started getting me personally invested. I realized that what was happening politically at a federal, state, and local level impacted me and those that I cared about. And with this new knowledge, I really started getting politically involved. I also wasn't alone. Around the country and the world, students over the past several years have been taking an especially active interest in advocacy. And many of you have likely noticed this happening, whether online or through family and friends or in the course of advocating alongside them. A lot of the advocacy in the US from students is focused on changing existing systems from outside the system. Massive marches for climate and racial justice and gun control have really had quite a bit of media presence and have had some real impact. Many of you have likely signed a petition for a cause that you care about, and it's impossible for me as a student to log onto Instagram today and not come across an infographic about something I can solve of one of many problems. And mass movements like these, whether in person or online, can have real impact. I participated in my fair share, including helping lead my middle school's March for Our Lives walkouts, participating in the Seattle climate strike, and also signing petition after petition. But I've also spent much time trying to achieve change within the system. Through work with state campaigns and the Legislative Youth Advisory Council, I've been able to achieve real progress and forward momentum. And what I've learned from my time, even though it's taken a lot of effort to affect this change, is that people within state government really want youth voices involved, and they really are quite receptive to students, often more so than they are to adult members of the public. And so what I've learned really from taking this is that state representatives and state senators and even career employees just don't know where to find youth who want to become engaged. And so it falls upon you, the students, to often make that proactive first outreach, offering up your unique and important perspective. And you'll be welcome in, but it's up to you to make that first step. Let's start with campaigns. When I first was getting into politics, I discovered that my state senator was looking for youth interns on her campaign, and I took advantage of the opportunity and quickly fell into the world of campaigning. Over the next several years, I worked on a variety of state and federal campaigns in a variety of capacities, including most recently as field director for now freshman state representative Jamila Taylor. And in my time affiliated with campaigns, I gleaned three main takeaways regarding youth involvement. First, candidates want youth involved. In conversations with dozens of elected officials on both sides of the aisle, what I've heard resoundingly is that they really do want youth involved in their campaigns. They just have no clue where to find motivated students. And so again, it's up to you, the students, to reach out and offer up your services, whether that be via the website or social media, and the candidates will likely embrace you with open arms. The second takeaway is that youth really have a lot of qualities that lead to success on campaigns. They're adaptable, they're hardworking and creative, and they bring a unique perspective that only a student can have. And this unique perspective is something I'll hit on multiple times because it's one of your strongest assets within the system, the ability to think of an angle an adult has not. And so working even as a youth has a lot of positions, or a lot of benefits rather, as part of the virtue of being a young person, including myself, when I worked as field director for State Representative Taylor and was able to use my position as a young person in order to affect real change. My third takeaway regarding youth involvement, and perhaps the most important one related to this talk, is that they're a really effective foundation for advocacy. Assisting a candidate allows you to make your case to them early, and working in the field with constituents and volunteers allows you to refine your own arguments. Crucially, working with a candidate on a campaign allows you to build a connection with them. and strong relationships with your senators and representatives will pay untold dividends down the road. Maybe they'll sponsor a bill about an issue that you're passionate about. Maybe they will be more receptive to your advocacy about a certain initiative, and maybe they will even connect you with a person who can help you achieve your goal better than they can. Campaigns are a great place to catalyze governmental progress, especially for youth. In 2019, I got involved with the Legislative Youth Advisory Council. I was accepted onto it as a member, and LIAC is the official 22-member youth advisory body to the state legislature. It's run through the Lieutenant Governor's office. And LIAC is undeniably in the system. As chair for this last year, I've realized, though, that more than anything else, LIAC has given me insight into the real power that working within the system can have to affect real legislative change. Two activities of LIAC that are pretty frequent are lobbying and testifying. And lobbying is a process through which advocates meet with policymakers in order to push for specific legislation. And it's been associated with corrupt corporate interests quite a bit, but it can really be utilized for good causes too. Over the past several months, LIAC has met with over 100 state senators and representatives, in addition to Governor James Lee, Lieutenant Governor Denny Peck, Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Reichdal, Attorney General Bob Ferguson, Secretary of State Kim Wyman, and State Treasurer Mike Policiotti. And in the process of meeting with these elected representatives, what I've found overwhelmingly is that they're interested and invested in what youth have to say. Not only are youth a pretty powerful yet non-voting constituency, but they are also just genuinely bring really good ideas to the table. Testifying, too, is a great way to push legislation into law by convincing legislators in a formal committee setting of the importance of a bill. And while neither testifying nor lobbying are as visually arresting as a march in the streets, they're often more impactful in making lasting, codified progress. LIAC has pushed a lot of bills into law, but they're not limited to advocating for other people's legislation solely. We also write our own bills, and this year we introduced House Bill 1373 with 27 bipartisan co-sponsors, which helps mitigate the youth mental health crisis across the state. It recently passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support and is now working its way through the Senate. And what we found is that you don't even need LIAC to write a bill. A lot of state legislators are eager to hear ideas for solutions to problems, and if they like your idea, they will begin turning it into legislation, and this is particularly true for young people. By turning your student priorities into legislation, you're turning your youth voice into action, which is beyond crucial. LIAC also works with a variety of state agencies, and the story is just the same. When we were working with the Attorney General's office earlier on a youth statewide tip line, they welcomed our ideas and implemented them basically immediately. The same with the Department of Health. When we advised on COVID-19 vaccine distribution plans, they welcomed us to the advisory table very quickly. This is all to say that youth really are wanted in government. It's just a matter of making that initial connection. And LIAC can provide that connection, but there's tons of other avenues as well. This also doesn't exclude local government. It's likely your city council or school board really wants youth voices involved and just aren't getting it. And if they don't want that, fix that, work on that, get them to get these youth voices involved. Your power to make change at the local level and in your community will grow even stronger. There's lots of ways to really affect change. And believe me, I've tried most of them. I've worked with nonprofit organizations like the Washington State PTA and the Eastside Education Network, donated to candidates that I cared about, and much more. These all do work. But using your voice directly in government will not only be effective, but appreciated by elected officials and career employees alike. Use your unique perspective and lived experiences to really affect that change, and use our existing system of government in order to achieve progress on behalf of you and your community. Thank you.